Hi again, everyone, and welcome to the Chad Harberts Show here on the Sports Guys Iowa Network. It is the spring sports season, though it has not been spring for very long. We have lost so many events to rain, to lightning, the wind not so much, knocking out some golf, but certainly the rain and the lightning canceled so many things. And with Drake relays coming up, that's a big deal because track meets don't typically get rescheduled. Track meets, if it's the day of and they cancel it, track meets just get canceled. They're not rescheduled because it's too hard to try to coordinate the schedules of 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 teams onto a new date. So many track meets have been canceled in the last few weeks, and these kids are really pressing for an opportunity to meet that blue oval standard and automatically qualify for the Drake relays. That's a big deal. The 116th Drake relays are coming up next week, actually starting this Saturday with some of the road races and stuff, but the big stuff happens next week on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it's been interesting because I've had plenty of nights lately where I've been scheduled to go somewhere to cover something, and that something hasn't happened. So it's been an interesting spring sports season, but it's starting to pick up now. Today, I'm taping this for you on Thursday, and certainly a great weather day today. I know there's a bunch of track meets tonight, a bunch of golf tonight, so some spring sports going. I'm actually going to head out the door to tennis here in just a little bit and check out some boys tennis. But it's good that things are going forward. It's good the weather's clearing up, but I'm looking so forward to the Drake relays next week and seeing all those elite athletes and college athletes and certainly the prep athletes compete down at the Drake relays. And with that, I've got a fantastic guest today, someone who has been with the Drake relays now for 33 years, someone who was running at the Drake relays in junior high in the 1970s. So a guy who really knows the Drake relays, a guy who's very instrumental in how they take place from behind the scenes, which is very key. When you go to a track meet, you want things to stay on time. You want things to be organized. You don't want to be, we got to wait for a second. We got to change out hurdles. Or somebody's not their starting block, or they're not down there for the race. There's guys behind the scenes, the marshals, that keep everything moving, help out the officials who are setting up the track and getting ready to run the races and the finish lines, whatnot. But to get the athletes down there and to keep the track clear, to keep things moving on time, it takes a lot of marshals. And I'm very thrilled that we could hook up today with Steve Brush, who is the chief marshal of the Drake relays, and have him come on to the Chad Harberts Show and talk about his fantastic experiences that he's had with the Drake relays and what we should expect next week when the 116th running of the relays starts up. So without further ado, here's Steve Brush from the Drake relays. All right, Steve, first of all, thank you for joining us. Steve Brush, you are the chief marshal of the Drake relays, which is a really impressive title. Anyone can say journalist like I do, but saying that you're a chief marshal, pretty unique title.
And it sounds way more important than it actually is, maybe, on it. And I don't know who comes up with the names for things. I guess they had to make someone the lead, and chief was the automatic one. Yeah, I get the distinction of being the chief marshal and get to work with a great crew at the relays as a marshal.
You've got a great history with the Drake relays. You ran there in junior high and then again in high school at Urbandale, then went into officiating pretty quickly. Walk me through your history with Drake.
Yeah, as I get started with it, junior high, that was always the big trip on Fridays. The relays was they loaded up the bus and they took us all down there to let us see the event. And that's really where my passion for track and field got started, and my passion for Drake got started with it. And it was an annual event to get down to it. Always looking forward to it every year. And then luckily enough, I was able to in high school run down there a couple times, and that great memories with it. It's one of those that think back to it, and my favorite memory from running in high school. And I don't normally hear people when I'm running on the track, but the voice of Jim Duncan calling out my name as I was taking off running was great. And it's one of those, we talk about it today. Mike J is the voice of the relays, but prior to Mike, it was Jim Duncan was the voice of the relays. And That's the piece that stuck through me through high school on it. After high school, I did, other than being out of state for college, I didn't miss many Fridays or Saturdays down at the relays. And my dad actually was an official down there. So he got started in the mid 70s as an official back in the days when they did hand timing, sitting on the big stand on the inside of the field. And he had his gun there and stopped and watching everything go along with it. And after enough years of handing me his tickets, he said, "You just ought to get on this side of the track and do it yourself." And so finally, 1993, they talked me into getting started with it as a marshal, the old field with the sunken infield on it. I started at that time on it, and I've been at it for, this will be my 33rd year officiating down there.
That is incredible. So my dad is one of the great track and field athletes in Grundy Center High School history, but I never ran track because I just couldn't live up to how great he was. But he also instilled in me how important the Drake Relays was. He was a longtime Drake Relays season ticket holder. We used to sit down there on the first turn and go, didn't matter what the weather was. And so I got to go to Drake quite a bit as a kid, never ran there, but just if people have never been there, or maybe they hear about Drake Relays but never experienced it, I don't think they understand this is one of the great track and field meets in America.
Exactly right. And I think that's the one thing we always get spoiled with here. It's a local event, it always goes on, and everybody takes it for granted. But once you get into the track and field world and you look at it on a national level and even on a world level, on how big the Drake Relays is for track and field from that aspect on it, and how large it actually is. It's, and one of the reasons why we get the athletes into Drake that we do is because of the status it is and the crowds that show up for it. But every year it's, we get the high school kids in, we get the middle school kids in to do running, which is great for the local state of Iowa kids, but always a great number of collegiate athletes that come in for it. And probably the most impressive piece is the number of world-class athletes that are here for it. And it's the same ones that we're watching run at the Olympics and the World Championships are running right here in Des Moines.
And I was down there the year, and maybe I'm mixing this up, but I don't think I am. I was down there the year that Carl Lewis ran in the snow at Drake Relays.
That was in 93. That was my first year down there. Yeah, I did. Not that you want to be shoveling track of snow at any point, but I don't know that Carl was really excited about being there, but wasn't going to pass up the opportunity to run for the crowd there. And I was fortunate. That was my first year there. And over the years, I've got to escort and work with a few of the elite athletes. And that was the first one I really got to work with was Carl Lewis. So a great experience. And it was a great run that he had there. Although I think as he finished his 100 that he ran, he was as quick as he could out the stadium doors and out of the cold weather.
It's just incredible. We talk about for the high school kids, which is what I spent a lot of time covering, getting down there. But the elite athletes, the Carl Lewises, the Wilt Chamberlains, the Jesse Owens, the Lolo Jones, Joey Woody, who I went to college with at Northern Iowa, who had a great career and is now the Iowa head track coach. Just incredible national athletes who all come to Des Moines to just compete in one of the great track meets.
It is. And it's, I go through that list of elites that have been here, and it's, and there's a long list of them that have made it in for it. The one that always surprises me or is always have fun looking back at is the number of Iowa kids that have made that step to that elite status and look forward to coming back to Drake to run on it. Tasha Chrysler Brown, that mix. Lolo Jones is always a great one on the world stage with it. But you go down that list, last year we had Carissa Schweitzer and Shelby Houlihan that were both back and just reliving their experiences that they had through high school and college running here at Drake and then taking it to that next level for it. So it's fun to see them come in. It's, I said, fortunate to work with a bunch of them. I got to, in addition to Carl Lewis, I've escorted around. Glenn Torrance was in one year early on for me, Michael Johnson, Jeremy Warner, and you go down the list with those. Jenny Simpson, I know, was in that mix. That's really great athletes, but more importantly, really great people. That's always been the fun piece is you see just how down to earth that they are and how much track and field means to them. And to have the opportunity to run in the U.S. in front of 14,000 people is a tremendous honor and a chance for them to really show off what they can do on it. It doesn't happen very often in the U.S.
And really on the high school level, there's an opportunity to see someone who's going to be a big time Olympian or something someday. I'm thinking about Quentin Nauman right now, who's going to Oregon next year and looks like he's going to be a big time track and field athlete in his career, or a Tristan Wilfs who's playing in the NFL. but had a
Yeah.
great career at Mount Vernon, or even Charlie Gall, who's just starting off at Cedar Falls, whose mother was a 3-time Drake Relay state champion. You could go down there next week and see some 15 to 18-year-old kids who are going to be national athletes in some way in their future.
Very true. And every year the kids continue to perform and times continue to improve. And they show just how great track and field is in the state of Iowa. This year, we're excited about it and have the privilege to host a couple of regional elite high school mile races on it for both the boys and the girls. And you talked about Quentin Nauman there as we get into that one, but you get Keegan Decker and Dunham into that mix on it. And you bring in, we're going to invite in some kids from surrounding states, which doesn't normally happen, but just to show off the talent that we have in Iowa, we're going to put those races in. And those are a couple that I'm really looking forward to on Friday evening.
So, Chief Marshal, the marshals have a lot of duties there. You're hurting the athletes, you're also hurting the officials. There's so many equipment changeovers that happens in a track and field meet. It's really a big endeavor.
It is. And it's a lot of different positions that need to be taken care of just to make sure that a meet runs as it's supposed to on it. And between the timers and the clerks and the starters and the umpires, everybody has their place on the field working with the events and having those run smoothly on it. From a marshaling standpoint on it, I hope we're always in the background and not seen on it, but we really work with maintaining the safety and the integrity of the meet in each one of the events. So I end up with a crew of about 16 to 20 marshals, and we're staged around the track. I have a few that work with the finish line just to keep it clean and safe and make sure that we're getting good times coming across on it. The one that's out with the starter. And then each field event, we have somebody staged around with to make sure people are where they're supposed to be. Probably more important, where they're not supposed to be. Nothing worse than having the javelins and the hammers and discs go off and somebody not aware that it's coming their way. And then we'll just make sure that during the races that the track stays clear, making sure there's no interference from anybody, spectators, media, other athletes on it. And then we do some escorting down. One thing we do with Drake, just to kind of keep the track a little bit cleaner for the spectators, is we stage the runners up in our check-in tent and escort them down onto the track when they're ready to run. So we had a great crew that works with it on it to keep things safe for the athletes and hopefully keep the officials that are there running it able to do their duties and just continue on with the meet itself.
Being a track official is not easy. It's not like doing football or basketball where there's a little bit of communication, but you have a line of sight with the people you're working with. When you track, you talk about the 4 exchange zones. You're talking about there might be somebody long jumping while race is going on. You're talking about getting the next kids ready to come down there. There are so many moving parts. And I've never refereed track, but I've worked track meets. There's so many moving parts. It can really be very cumbersome. It has to be very organized, or a track meet can go off the rails super fast.
It can, and it's the one thing I guess I always look at as we put together that time schedule for Drake is it's down to the minute. 9:37, we're running this event, and 6 minutes later, we're off to the next event on it. And we actually have somebody that sits up in the press box that's timing the start and finish of each event just so we can maintain that schedule on it. But once that schedule gets put into place on it, we work through that with all the different levels, making sure as times go that we have the athletes checked in up in the check-in tent, that they're escorted down to the track in time for their event, staged with the clerks, ready to move up to that start line. And then as their race comes up, is that they're passed off to the starter and ready to go. Umpires around the track, they're the ones that are getting all those exchange zones set up, watching the track itself, the athletes, to make sure that they're within accordance of the rules there and making sure that it's a clean race through on things. And then after things get done, we move them off as quickly as possible. And one of my favorite things that I always like to hear Mike J say is, this event was scheduled to start at this time and we are on time. And just lets that little validation that, yeah, we're taking care of duties that we need to down onto the track on it.
So 116th Drake Relay is coming up less than a week now. As you look back at your career, what are some of your favorite memories?
And I'll start out this way. It's fortunate enough that my kids love track and field. They were going to be in it regardless. They got started at a young age going to track club that I helped coach at. And so they got to experience it at all levels from an early age on it. And they shared my passion. My favorite memories of the relays is probably watching my daughters run down there as high school athletes for Waukee High School. They were both pretty good distance runners and had the opportunity to do both 15 and the 3,000 down there. I had to quietly find some spots around the track to cheer. Not supposed to do that as an official, but what else, you can't help yourself. So that was my favorite memory down there. We moved beyond that. There's so many different events that take place on it. And you always point to the elites. It's always fun to watch them run on it. But one of my other favorite events down there is as we work with the para athletes, being able to see them get out and compete. And we do a number of races for them. This year, we're going to have some more wheelchair races in, just promote their sport. And then working with some of the Special Olympic athletes that we get down for a couple races each year on it. And those I just love. It's the pure joy of just being able to compete down there and in front of the people, and the smiles that you get on their faces is fun to see on it.
You mentioned times keep getting better and better. And I'm thinking about, for so many decades, track was like the football coach, the basketball coach said you need to go run track to stay in shape for football or basketball. But in the last, I'd say 20 or 30 years, kids are starting to realize I can go to college on a track scholarship. I think about the great Caden Suck from Nashville Plainfield, who had so much success at State, at Drake, and now she's at Oklahoma State, which if you're growing up in Nashville, Iowa, way up on the north border there,
Yeah.
somebody think I could run track in the Big 12 someday. I think these kids are starting to realize track could be a very good avenue for me to get a college scholarship. And now track is a growing sport. It's become a much more important sport over the last 3 or 4 decades.
Yeah, and it's one of those, for years it was stuck in that amateur status that made it tough for people to fully commit to it and to have a lot of opportunities. And it's that's changing, as in most of college sports right now. And then even as you get into the elite side on it, the professional side on it, the opportunities are there. And it's with those opportunities become more focus from athletes around to make track and field a primary avenue for their talents. Yeah, and you talk through just coaching ability anymore is really improved on it. And so many avenues for the coaches to go in and really be able to improve their techniques and their strategies and how they coach the athletes on it. And you bring in the strength and conditioning along with that. It just improves those athletes and gives them opportunities to perform at their best.
So what are your days going to look like the next few days when Drake starts?
So my week starts Saturday morning. Road races take place, and I will be down marshaling one of the major intersections for it. So I'll get to see the 5K, 10K, and half marathon runners participate in that kickoff. And then we move on to Monday. We start some of those special events, and those are the ones that are always a lot of fun on it. Pole vault at the mall. So we're going to have another pole vault competition in Jordan Creek Mall, which is great. The pole vaulters will have a number of world-class athletes that'll be in for it, world leaders in the pole vault. But if you've never been to the Jordan Creek Mall, they have a center atrium area that opens up 2 levels on it. We put the pole vault pit in the center of that atrium area. Great perspective down on the floor, being able to watch it. But that one area, if you get up at the rail on that second level, you're actually at the same height as the bar is. And nobody gets to see that perspective of watching the athlete go over the bar at eye level on it. So that will be a lot of fun Monday night. Tuesday, we continue on with the Grand Blue Mile, and USATF World Championships for the Road Mile will be down there. So we'll have both men's and women's races competing for national championships. Weather's looking good for that one as we start to look ahead. And then we get busy on the track on Wednesday and Thursday with the multi-events running. Wednesday night, we have a special shot put event in the field house at Drake. So we have Ryan Krauser has his own take on the shot put that he put together last year, which is the World Shot Put Series. Just a different look to it. We actually make it competitive. It's a throw by throw distance piece on it. Gets the athletes a little bit more time of making competitive throws and really gets a chance to get the crowd into it. On every throw is an important throw on it. And that group has a lot of fun. So look forward to it. And then Thursday night, we'll start out with the distance carnival and run that one till about 9 o'clock with some great distance events on it. We'll get some of the high school races started there and some middle school, along with some elites coming in. And then Friday, I'm down at the track probably by 6:30, and we'll be there until 10:30. And Saturday morning, doing the same, down there early and working through the finish on it. And my wife says that I live down there this week, and it feels like it, but this is one week of the year that I look forward to every year.
You mentioned the weather, and I know in this area especially, weather has been a factor as far as kids are really pressing this week to try to get that blue oval. They've been pressing the whole time with that blue oval qualifying time or distance or whatever, because there's been so many track meets rained out and lightninged out and everything else. Does that kind of affect the field, or do we figure out a way to keep that field where we want it?
He will end up with a good field on it. And it's, weather in Iowa, you never know what you're going to get in the spring. And I get in a look at the kind of where everybody is at in the events ranking wise as we look at that from Drake. A lot of indoor times that are carrying over. So at least kids got those in early, and those have become very competitive meets also. But into the outdoor season, it is actually the last night for qualifying. So there is a number of good meets out there tonight, and we looks like we'll have good weather for those. So those will get in and get through on it. The blue standards, the kids continue to meet that. And several years ago, we set those blue standards out there as that automatic qualifying time or mark that kids could get to get into Drake on it. And every year we have to improve those because the kids continue to improve themselves on it. So by the time we get there, I feel good that we'll have the top kids in the state. And that's always fun. It's those high school kids. And I know my kids talk about it. Drake almost becomes a bigger thing than state because you have that chance to run across all classes against the best of the best from high school.
Absolutely. It's just such a great event. And I know I've been down there when it's been 80 degrees. I've been down there in the snow. I've been down there in the rain. It just seems to happen. And the kids, the weather will bother you, but the kids and the collegiates and the elites, they just all step up regardless of what the weather conditions are when it comes to Drake.
Oh, exactly right. And it's unfortunately, we remember the bad weather more than the good weather on it. I go back at times and look at the weather stats. Someone actually keeps those for every relays over the years. And there's more nice days than bad days, but those are the bad ones are the ones we always remember. I know a couple years ago, we had, by the time the tornadoes came through and some thunderstorms, we had gotten really delayed on a Saturday evening. And the decision was there, whether do we just call the meet, cancel the last few events on it, or do we continue on, knowing it's going to be a late night on it. We decided to continue on, did an open track just to kind of get things through, kept it really loose. And we had state marks that were set that night on it by kids that showed up, stayed with it, and were able to get out there and still run on it. Yeah, they'll make the most of the opportunity.
Well, Steve, I appreciate the time. You got a fantastic job, and you've got a big job ahead of you. And I'm looking forward to coming down next Saturday for the finals of a lot of the high school stuff and see how my area kids here do. But it's good that Drake is back. It's a good sign that spring is here in Iowa for sure. And it's a good showcase for so many great track and field athletes at all levels, from junior high all the way to elite.
Yeah, no, look forward to it. Hopefully get a chance to see you when you're down for things on Saturday. Look me up. And yeah, we'll enjoy visiting about track and field here.
That sounds great, Steve. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate the interview coming on. That's a busy guy starting Saturday. I've worked track meets at the collegiate level, at the high school level. It's a long day. I've broadcast track meets. It's a long day where I've just been the play-by-play guy for a track meet, and you feel worn out at the end of the day. If you're an official or a marshal, oh my goodness, that is a long day because you're there an hour or two before the first athletes arrive, and you're there an hour or two after the last race is over with. It's a long day. So for these guys to come out and put in all that time, like I said, starting this Saturday with the road races and going through next Saturday when the last race will end at, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock at night. That's a long week to make sure all those athletes are in the right spot, to make sure everything's going as coordinated, to stay on time, and then not know day by day if you'll be battling the weather or not. So really, if you haven't a chance to go to the Drake relays, and I haven't got to go in a long time. I used to go quite a bit with my father in season tickets. I haven't gone in a long time. I am going this year. If you have not had a chance to go to the Drake relays, it is a fantastic event. I don't think Drake Stadium has ever looked better than it does now. It looks really great. It's great viewing from wherever you sit. You can really see so much of the action. It's got great sight lines, and it's just a great event. And then you got Mike Jade, the public address announcer, pumping the whole thing up. And you have these great athletes that you're going to see someday in the Olympics or running in college or maybe winning marathons I've seen some great ones down there, and I'm going to see some more great ones down there. They're just high schoolers now. But someday, if you go this year, you're going to say, I saw that kid when he was 18 years old. I saw that girl long jumping when she was 17. Now look at her. She's winning the New York City Marathon, or she's running for the USA in the Olympics. That's the kind of thing that happens out of the Drake Relays. When you have an elite competition like that, you're going to get elite athletes, and they're going to do elite things as they go forward in life. So certainly if you have a chance next week to go to the Drake Relays, check it out, follow it however you can online, whatever you need to do, because there's some really outstanding performances happening there. And we're so happy we could get Steve Rush on the Chad Harberts show today. That'll wrap up this show. So glad to have you alongside. We talk high school sports all over the state every single week here at the Chad Harberts show. You can check us out online, Sports Guys Iowa Network. Check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, certainly on YouTube. We've got the website, sportsguysiowa.com. You can see all of our other fantastic shows. We cover small college football. We cover the high school sports. We cover the Missouri Valley Conference. We cover a lot of things that are important to the people in Iowa. That's why we're Sports Guys Iowa. So thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you also check out our high school huddle on Sunday nights, our Sports Center type high school show. Lots of great things coming up on there as well. For our producer extraordinaire, John Gunderson, I am merely Chad Harberts, and this is the Chad Harberts Show. Thanks for watching.